What's typical talk at secondary school or high school? We're going to talk about information about the language and communication development in secondary school students, or that age range from about 11 through to 18. It might be helpful to identify students or children, adolescents that might have underlying speech, language and communication needs. The language development in the secondary years is a gradual process with many subtle but important changes taking place. And children might fail to develop age-appropriate language skills for a range of reasons, including they have general learning difficulties, they may have had less support to develop language and communication skills fully, they may have a specific difficulty with language which is out of step with their potential to learn. They could also have English as an additional language. Those children are at the same risk of speech, language and communication needs as other children, but this can be a bit more difficult to spot. We're going to talk about the understanding and reasoning, so pupils, students using language to solve more complex problems, and talk about their vocabulary, learning approximately 7 to 10 words a day, their sentence structure and narrative, explaining more complex ideas, and their social interaction, using sophisticated language skills to be successful socially. So by age 11, for understanding and reasoning, they can follow complex directions. For example, get the rectangular box that's on the bottom shelf of the stationery cupboard. They understand common simple sayings in context. For example, I couldn't keep a straight face. They're starting to get someone else's point of view when discussing. They understand factual information, might still find it harder to understand inferred information. For example, what is said, it's getting noisy in here. What is implied, you need to be quiet. They are starting to understand sarcasm when exaggerated. You're such a talented singer. For vocabulary by age 11, they might have instruction words that are hard to understand, like estimate or research. They understand some words have multiple meanings, like hot and bright. They are beginning to use dictionary type instead of personal definitions to explain words. For example, brave, dictionary, when you do something even though you're scared. A personal definition, when I fell over and don't cry. They use more interesting vocabulary when prompted. For example, worried becomes anxious. For sentence structure and narrative by age 11, they use a range of joining words when they're talking and writing. For example, because, so, also, before. They tell interesting, entertaining and original stories with stories within stories. They explain the rules of a game or a sequence of events in a simple but accurate way, and their average length of spoken sentences is 7 to 11 or more words. For social interaction by age 11, they understand jokes based on double meanings, though they're not always able to explain them. For example, I said to the gym teacher, "Can you teach me to do the splits?" He said, "How flexible are you?" I said, "I can't make Tuesdays." They adjust the politeness of their language to who they are talking to. For example, to a friend, they might say chill, man, or soz, mate. But to the teacher, "Sorry, Mr. Jones, I didn't mean to make you angry." They are able to talk through problems with their peers, and they are aware when someone doesn't understand and try another way to get their information across, and they move from topic to topic quite often in conversations. For understanding and reasoning by age 14, they understand instructions which don't follow the word order of the sentence. For example, before you collect your instruments, complete the worksheet and file it in your folder. They can build an argument to persuade and respond to views different to their own. They separate fact from opinion when reading. They make inferences, working out information that isn't explicitly written or spoken. For example, the day was dark and thick coats were required. They understand less obvious sayings, for example, "you're skating on thin ice." They are confident in noticing and understanding sarcasm with clues. By age 14, for their vocabulary, they are still challenged by some instruction words like modify, generate, or consider. They use patterns in words, for example, word endings like able, esque, word beginnings like un or dis. They use academic words when prompted to do formal tasks, for example, agitated, arrogant, excruciating, and they can confidently explain the meaning of subject words and words with multiple meanings. For sentence structure and narrative by age 14, they link sentences using more difficult joining words, such as even though or however. They produce well-planned, complex stories with complete sections and plenty of detail. They give clear and detailed explanations of rules or break down steps in more complex sequences, and their average length of spoken sentences is 7 to 12 or more words. For social interaction by age 14, they understand and use slang terms with their peers. They keep up with the latest street talk. They can keep a topic of conversation going even if the person they are talking to finds this skill harder. They fully understand the difference between talking with peers to speaking in the classroom. For example, I use bigger and posher words in school than with my mates. For understanding and reasoning by age 18 and onwards, they have no difficulty understanding complex directions. They know when and why they don't understand and ask for help in a specific way. For example, can you explain that to me again? I got the beginning, but I don't understand the last step. They are more skilled in using a range of arguments to persuade others. They read and understand a wide variety of topics, and they fully understand sarcasm and are able to use it well. For example, I'm so happy to see you. For vocabulary by age 18 onwards, they know what instruction words are asking them to do. For example, evaluate, find themes, or compile. They use a good range of descriptive words and expressions. For example, swaggered, noxious, meandered. For sentence structure and narration by age 18 onwards, they are able to use difficult joining words to make complex sentences, such as provided that or similarly. They can tell long and complex narratives, ensuring the listener understands the thread of the story throughout, and their average length of spoken sentences is 9 to 13 or more words. For social interaction by age 18 onwards, they are able to stay on one topic of conversation for long periods and move sensibly from one topic to another. They are able to switch easily between informal and formal styles of talking depending on the audience. For example, off to college now for an interview, seeing my mates later, better watch my mouth with Sam's mum, was a bit rude last time. For further information and advice, you can visit www.slcn.com.au. So we gave a little bit of information about language and communication development at secondary school, which might help you to identify children that could have underlying speech, language, and communication needs. It is still important to remember that language development across the secondary years is a gradual process with lots of different changes taking place.